Hi there. Now, few things can tear at a teacher's heart more than watching a child get rejected by their peers. I'm Nicole Dravillas Fravel, and this is Wildwood Teaching. And today we are going to talk about exclusion in an outdoor program, why children might exclude other children, and how you, as a teacher, can help both children in that situation. Now, I'm sure the scenario that I am about to describe is familiar to you. I can say one time this past fall, I watched as and two children were happily sitting on a log that had kind of a tree in front of it. So it had a log and then a tree going up. They were sitting on a log, happily pretending it was some type of vehicle. The child in front was the driver. They were pushing buttons on the tree, imaginary buttons to get the tree to move. And as they were happily playing, a third child walked up, didn't say anything to either child, kind of stuck his hand in front of the driver and started pushing buttons on, his imaginary buttons on the vehicle. Of course, the first two children did not react well to this and said, uh, you can't come here. Don't, you're not playing with us. Um, and that third child kind of looked at me and said, "Well, they're not letting me play." So, like I said, I am sure this scenario is familiar to you, where children might appeal for your help, right? And you might even find that if you are transitioning from a largely indoor environment, that that you may see these behaviors that you've never seen before. Now, I always talk about kind of the three pillars here at Wildwood Nature School of outdoor teaching, that we are using the environment as a teacher, and what it offers to us, and being flexible as it changes. That we are using natural materials for learning, and that we are child centered, that we are letting the child's interests and needs lead what we are teaching. And I don't want to give the impression that this is a panacea, that you take the children outside and everything is fine and dandy and there are no problems ever. I think over time the problems lessen, but it's still preschool. Children are still there to learn social skills. And so you are still going to have these social negotiations that happen. And like I said, it may even happen more, because if you are in a very tightly controlled indoor environment where you may be deciding as a teacher what the choices are for that day. I mean, yes, children have choices, but they're between this thing and this thing. Or you may be deciding who the children are grouping with. You may have strategically grouped these particular children at the block area to minimize behavioral issues. And yes, it does minimize behavioral issues, but in the short term, actually, this is a good thing that you're seeing these things crop up, because if children don't have a chance to practice it, if you don't have a chance to teach these social negotiation skills, it never gets learned. So want you to approach this from that teaching mindset, from this is an opportunity. This isn't the end of the world. So step one is going to be, take a breath, calm down, uh, you know, don't jump in immediately, realize why children might be doing this behavior. I mean, are they just mean? Are they little bullies? Well, probably not. Most likely, if a child is excluding another child from play, And they have a reason in their own minds, maybe not consciously, of why they are doing that. So it may originate with them. It may be that they want to protect a friendship. Right? They may feel threatened by another child joining their play because they may think that it's not possible to be friends with more than one person at a time. They may be protecting the play, and they may have some intricate, imaginary, dramatic play going, and it's difficult. The more people you add to that dramatic play, the more negotiation has to happen. And so they may think, we have a good thing going right now. We don't want to add more people because that might ruin the good thing. It may also be that the way that that child is joining play is not socially adept. So in the example that I mentioned, that third child was just kind of, inserting his body in front of the other child, and that can be a little bit disconcerting. And again, they just don't have the skill yet to be able to even consciously know what they're reacting to, and then to react to it in a way that includes the other child. Um, Sometimes they just simply may not understand that the other child wants to join them. Again, this could stem from that additional child just kind of like sitting and watching them. Right? Or standing next to them the whole time, and they say, why are you just standing next to me? Give me some space. When and that child just didn't know how to enter play in a way that helped the other children do that. So no overreacting. Your job as a teacher is to um, not only help the child that's being excluded, but to also help children learn how to be includers. And that's going to take a little bit of sitting back. The other thing that might happen when you sit back is that you are giving children an opportunity to solve it on their own. Maybe they learned from a previous situation and maybe they can figure it out. Now, if they don't figure it out, but the situation still ends peacefully, so let's say in the situation that I described, that child who was attempting to join play walks away. There is an option to leave it at that, to say, well, it ended peacefully. Everybody has moved on. Maybe next time, this third child will, learn how to enter play in a more appropriate way. My guess is no, they won't know next time what to do. So I probably wouldn't leave it at that. I would probably at least um, go talk to the child that had been excluded. What happened? Why do you think that happened? Would you like to try again? I can give you some ideas, or I can walk with you so we can practice those ideas of how you might ask to play. You can talk to the children who said, go away, you're bugging us, right? And to say, what's going on there, because that's legitimate, right? I don't think that we should ever force children to play or force children to be in a situation that is uncomfortable for them. I mean, that is also not a socially appropriate thing to teach children, but to say, what's going on here? What other ways could you have done that? Could you have said, I don't like you sticking your hand in front of me, but you know, if you want to join us in playing, here's how you could do it. Here's what we're doing. Here's, you can sit in the back of the car right now. And that child may not want to sit in the back of the car. I mean, you can't solve everything. But that's a different negotiation. Because in this child-led environment, you're always looking for that teachable moment, that way that you're not just teaching, say, you're not teaching the situation, I'm teaching the child. So how can we work on this issue for the future. And it may or may not end well. And so, you may need to be also teaching some resiliency skills for that child that is being excluded. So you couldn't join them right now. What could you do? Are there some other people that you could join? Are there some things that you'd rather be playing by yourself? If you need to be the driver, you need to be the driver right now. Go find a situation where you need to be the driver, and that may be without other children. So you decide which need is more important to you right now. Now, I do know, like I said, I try to give children mostly the option of trying to work it out with other people. I have done in the past where I've given children, um, like, you can say you want to be alone. What I have found is that children don't quite understand that and they use that as a catch all, right? So that if they don't want to play with a particular child, they will say, I just want to be alone right now. Um, I'm sitting under the tree and there's no room for you. But when the next child comes, that it maybe is a more desirable playmate, that they don't really want to be alone. They just didn't want that child at that moment. Um, so again, in that situation, you're not teaching this the skill. It may be very legitimate. They may want to be alone, and that they may be having a on the verge of a meltdown. There may be reasons, so you kind of have to gauge the situation. But what I found is that that's not really when children say, "I want to be alone." That's not really what they mean. Or the other thing that happens, they say they want to be alone, and that second child just follows them and they move under a tree and they say, I want to be alone. They move somewhere else. The second child follows them. So again, you probably are going to want to step in as a teacher and teach either that second child, you know, if somebody says they want to be alone, what does that mean? Should you be respecting that? What can you do instead? Again, some resiliency skills after having been refused what you thought you wanted. And again, you might then work with that first child. Is it that you really want to be alone, or is there something else that you want from that second child that would make the situation palatable to you? So really it's about, learning to set limits, learning to communicate your needs to other children, and, you know, make sure that you are asking questions always, right? What's going on here? Why can't so and so play? What made you, feel like you needed to do this? And then you can go for that goal, right? Well, we have our thing going and we don't want a third person to ruin it. What wouldn't ruin it? What could that third person do? And could you invite them to do, whatever it is? Could you invite them to sit in the back of the train? So helping them negotiate some solutions as well. So, like I said, you might find that when you open up more to a larger environment, to more child centered, where you are letting play happen more, you might find these exclusionary behaviors pop up. Step one, do not overreact. Step two, remember that this is a teachable moment for both the child that is being excluded and the one doing the excluding. Step three, ask questions. Find out what's going on before you offer solutions. See if they can find their own solutions. And if they can't, offer to scaffold things. And then step six, if it really is a moment when somebody needs to be alone or somebody isn't going to be invited to play, make sure that you are supporting, again, both children emotionally. So I hope this was helpful to you. And I will see you here next week for another edition of Wildwood Teaching. See you there.